Welcome to Redline Reptiles and Exotics. I'm Wes Collins. Today I'm doing a quick video on ball python, royal python enclosure setups and how I like to do it. You know, all this is just my opinion and how I keep my snakes. But I want to start out with just dive right into it. For enclosures, I use a 4x2x2 dubia roach. They're very, very good enclosures. I really love them. And man, they're great quality, but a good price. And so I use them for about all my snakes. Now, when they're small or baby snakes, I generally use a breeder, 40-gallon breeder. But we're going to mainly talk about the big enclosures, but it all applies to it one way or another. But I'm going to start out with talking about I use belly heat along with basking and T5 lighting and UVB lighting. But I'm going to start out with the thermostat and the kind of heat tape I use and where I get it. Now, you can buy many different heat mats. Generally, most people go to the pet store and buy something like this, a heat mat. Now, on a bigger enclosure like this, it's really kind of hard to heat up. What you need with something like this, you know, but they have bigger mats, but it has a sticky film on this side. And this would go up under the tank and stick up. Most people kind of put them back corner. That way it kind of leaves all the front area kind of cooler and stuff. And but it sticks there. And then the thermostat, it'll plug into this thermostat. And you plug it in here, and then you plug the thermostat up. And once you got your heat mat stuck up in there, and what I do is, you know, it has a probe for the thermostat. And what this does, it goes inside of your enclosure. Usually you have little grommets or ports that you can run this through and down into the bottom of your enclosure. Now, when I instead of I don't use the heat mats, I use heat tape, which I buy from Reptile Basics. If you get a chance, go check them out. I'll put a link of the heat tape that I use. And I use this, I call it aluminum tape. You can get it at a hardware store, but it's for heating ductwork and stuff like that. It's for something that's heat, you know, that has a lot of heat to it. So you just tape that heat tape once it don't have sticky stuff, so you have to put it up there and you'll take this tape and you'll stick it on. I'll get into a better video of that one day. I'll do a video just on that. But once you get that on and stuff, and you plug your thermostat in and you plug your heat mat into your thermostat, you run this probe down into the corner, and generally you'll put your substrate on, and we'll get into that too. And then you put your hide where you want it. And this will go up under the hide. And then you'll want to take that aluminum heat tape, and you want to tape this on the inside. And what that does is let the thermostat know how warm it's getting on top of the surface of inside of the closure to know when to regulate the temperatures for what you have it set for. Now we get into that. Something you got to think about is how much substrate you're going to use. You know, generally I use 3 to 4 inches of substrate. Now on the hot side, most time I kind of keep it a little lower. That way if the temperature is kind of easier to regulate, I may put 2 inches. But on the rest of the enclosure, cool side or the kind of warm side there in the middle, I do 3 to 4 inches. And I personally use Reptichip. I think Reptichip does very well with holding humidity, and that's real important for your ball python is to have that humidity. You know, I try to keep mine anywhere from 65 to 70%. Just on regular days. And then when they start going in pre-shed, I generally bump it up to about 80 to 85%. And when I say humidity, we ain't talking about keeping the enclosure wet itself. We're talking about the inside air, the humidity. You know, this Reptichip will kind of let off little water droplets, which is humidity, and it will fill the air. And that's what gives you your humidity. Now, that being said, once you get that set up and got your layer of substrate, and I'll put all the links of the stuff I use in the description. I don't get sponsored by them. I have to buy everything just like you will, and it's just, you know, it's just what I've used for trial and error. I've used a lot of things and kind of found out what works and what doesn't. So I'm hoping to maybe help you and save you a little money and save you a little time on experimenting, because I've done a lot of it. But also, once you get that set up and that probe, thermostat probe taped down to the bottom with that heating tape, then you can put your substrate on, and then you can lay your hide, which is something else. When I say hide, I use these from Reptile Basic too. They're very affordable, and you know, easy to clean and take them out and check your snake. Come different sizes. I generally lay a big stone or a tile piece on top for the basking light to hit to warm the rock up, which in returns also warms this hide up. But this is you know, I also get these from Reptile Basics as well. Great company. Now, once you put that down and put your, you know, kind of get everything set up, which I don't have one to show you, but you can get them at PetSmart or anywhere. They have these little temperature gauges. Usually they're yellow, and then had this long probe on them that you can kind of, it's got a suction cup that you can put on the side of your enclosure, and you run that down inside your hot side hide. Now, what I generally do is I don't bury it all the way at the bottom with the other probe. I just kind of, sometimes I just lay it in there on top of the substrate, or just kind of bury it enough where the snake can't move it around so much. Now, these are not very accurate, but that's not really what you're using for. You're just using it for, you know, kind of just give you a insight on what the temperature is close being. Like if you come in one day and you look and it's 80 degrees, you know, it's dropped a little bit. And so you can take your heat gun, which is something I do recommend you get. You can get these on Amazon. You can get them on Harbor Freight's where I got this one. I think they're like $19. Very valuable because you can heat up your rodents for feeding and see what the temperature is, because you want to feed it off to your snake when it's good and hot, and that way they'll get a good heat signature and really hit that rodent. But these are very valuable. But the point I'm getting at, them other little gauges, you can kind of take a quick look if you're in a hurry, and it says 89. Well, you know you're in the ballpark. So, you know, that's another thing. I generally keep my snakes between 88 to 90 degrees. You know, sometimes it'll be 91 during the hottest part of the summer, but, you know, right around 89 to 90 is what I prefer. And that's what I feel like my snakes do the best at. Now, each snake has, you know, different personalities. You know, I have a Dumeral's boa. She will not go in her hot hide, if it's over 89 degrees. It has to be 89 or below. She prefers it around 88 and you know, right between 88 and 89. And like I said, she will not even go in there if it's higher than that. And then I have my python. She's an orange string pastel. She also loves it at 89 degrees. Anything over that, she won't hardly go in. She, you know, you have to watch your snakes, you know, kind of see what they do during the day. Are they going from one hide to another, or they staying mostly in the cold side, never going into the hot side, even after a meal? So it might indicate that it's too hot on that side. Then on the other hand, we have a ball python, that's my son's. stepson, and he prefers it at 90 to 91 degrees, and so he loves it. So you kind of got to watch your snake and see what it's doing, and that's the key to having fun with your snakes and learning about them is really watching them, watching their body language, getting in there and doing some enrichment and seeing how they do on certain things as far as climbing to, thinking, getting their mind thinking. But anyway, we don't want to get off subject here. But once you get that situated, the heat you want it, you might have to turn it up. Like if you're, say you want to get between 88 and 89 degrees inside your hide, because that substrate is so thick, it may have to turn the thermostat up to 92 to get that 88, 89, or whatever you're seeking. And that's why you got to have the heat gun. And point in there, shoot, and don't get me wrong, throughout the day, it's going to change. You can't just constantly keep it that. And it's not going to hurt if it swings from 1 degree to another. If it's within a couple of degrees, you're fine. But that's what I shoot for, is between 88, 89, and sometimes up to 90. Like my jungle carpet python loves it at 90 to 91. But he basks. He rarely ever even goes into his hot hide. I still use belly heat. But as far as the belly heat, the heat tape I was telling you about, you can go to Reptile Basics. They have it pre-wired where you just plug it into your thermostat. And what I do on these 4x2x2s, what I do is half of the enclosure, I do the length about 2 foot, and then on the width, I use the 21 inch, which is almost the whole width. It's width of the enclosure. But what that does, that gives it a good area for it to heat up. Now, you're going to say, why do I use such a long strip? You just want something under the hide. Well, what this does when you do the half a strip, because where the plugs into the heat tape, it gets hotter quicker there. And then if you put your hide in the corner to where your heat tape is, it's going to even get hotter there. But as the heat tape goes out halfway down your enclosure toward the cool side, that heat's going to dissipate quicker because there's nothing to trap the heat. Plus, it takes longer to heat that end up of the heat tape. And so it's going to be a little cooler. And so what that does is give you a gradient. So it gives you a good hot hide for them to go in and digest their food and stuff. But it also, as you come out of the hide and go toward the cooler side, it kind of cools off, but it's still warm. And then it'll get even cooler as you go down to where the heat tape ends, and then that starts your cool side. And so what that does is give the complete cool side, and it's probably gradual because of the heat tape still kind of the conduction of the heat spreading throughout, but that gives you a good gradient. Now I use basking lights. I use the Intense, but there's so many different brands out there. Like I said, I use Thrive. I've been using this Exoterra, the Intense basking spotlight, and it seems like they really like that one, especially my jungle carpet. He's out in it every day. My ball pythons are usually out almost every day. The only thing that really don't use the basking light is probably my bloods. They're more fossorial. But I use an 8-inch dome fixture, basking light fixture with the ceramic. Make sure it's got the ceramic. I'll tell you, a lot of people go out and buy these cheap ones off of Amazon. That's one thing I wouldn't skip on. To me, that's a fire hazard because a lot of them, the ceramic is just not as good and it don't dissipate the heat as well. But I use the basking light, and like I said, I put that basking stone over the hot hide. And that basking light, along with the temperature in the hot hide, is going to be around 89 degrees. Then where the basking area, it can be a little higher. It can be 90 degrees. It's not going to affect that on the inside so much because it's going to heat up that rock. And what I do is shoot with my heat gun, and I try to get that basking rock around 90 degrees. And a lot of times they'll come up and lay on it because it feels good. You ever seen snakes when you're driving down the road, laying out on the asphalt across the road? They're warming up. Just that heat feels good to them. And so that's what I use there. And like I said, just having that, choices for them. A lot of people say, well, the light scares them. Well, at first it probably will if you've never used lights and if you got it from a breeder. But the honest truth is it's just like moving into a new home or something. You got to get used to things. And once you get used to things, they really love it and they utilize it. But I just want to throw that out there. Now I'm going to talk about UVB. This UVB light, I don't know if you can see it, but I use the UVB Zoomed Tropical. And that just puts out enough UVB for them to get out there and bask under it if they feel it kind of help their skin and stuff, help with their vitamin D and bacteria on their skins. UVB kind of takes care of all that. So it's good to have if a lot of people, like I say, don't believe in it, but I 100% do. My snakes are so social and they're so used to the light. Now, that's another thing. I take my snakes out for nighttime enrichment and daytime enrichment. And so how I set that up for them to get them used to going outside is I use these T5 full spectrum lighting. It's a grow light, basically. And if you see, I have one right here. It's zip tied in. And it's about 2 foot long. They're very, very affordable on Amazon. I think they're $10 for, I don't know how many, you get 4, 6 lights and you can hook them together, and they got all these different plugs and different ways to hang them. But why I do that is because it gives them full spectrum light, all the colors and all that. So when you take them outside for enrichment, they're kind of already used to that because of they've been in here with it and they've gotten used to coming out and seeing all these colors, because reptiles see different than we do. They can see all different more lights and spectrums of the light than we can. And so that's why I use that. And that's just, like I said, to get them used to everything. And I think I about covered everything. I also use these Govee Life. I'll put them in the description. Well, it's basically a smart smart humidity and thermometer that kind of lets me know what the room is, because you want the ambient temperature in the enclosure. I keep my room around 77 to 79, and that's just because I have other reptiles that require a different temperature than my snakes. So I kind of bring up my snake's temperature in their enclosure itself, and then I use this ambient temperature for my other reptiles. And that's like a humidity. I have a humidifier in here, and it gives off just enough humidity, and then I supplement whatever I need with putting humidity in my substrate. Now, that's another thing I want to get to, substrate. A lot of people, man, they're misting their enclosure. I can't keep my humidity, steady. Well, I'm going to tell you the secret to that. Quit misting altogether. You don't need the mist. What I do, I put a big bathing bowl. I don't know if you can see it in here, but I got a big bathing bowl, and I fill it full of water because sometimes my snakes want to get in it and bathe in it and cool off or whatever. Well, what I do, about 5 to 6 days, I check it. I stick my finger in it and see if it's slimy. If it's starting to get slimy, what I do is I'll take and kind of pull back some of that Reptichip, which I love because it holds humidity very well. And I'll pour some in that bathing water in there because I'm going to put fresh back. And then I'll just kind of mix it up. And then I'll do it again. And so what that does, it soaks that reptichip, and so it gradually releases humidity. You don't have to worry about it. A lot of people put stuff on top of their enclosures like saran wrap, aluminum foil. I don't have to do that. My enclosures, the humidity stays where I want it to be, and it's just because the reptichip. But it don't. But all that moisture sinks to kind of to the bottom and keeps that wet, so the top ain't wet and it ain't giving your snake scale rot. Another thing I do, I use smegma moss, and what I do is put it in certain areas where I pour out the bathing bowl, and I'll lay it on top of that. What smegma moss does, it draws moisture, and it'll kind of keep it from releasing so fast, and it kind of does look like the saran wrap stuff. It kind of holds it in that area, and so I put certain places, with smegma moss in there, and just kind of to help out with that, and that works wonders. Like I said, I'll try to get all this stuff in the description below. I was trying to think of anything else, and like I said, if you got questions, I'm not perfect. I'm not sitting here saying that, man, I know how to keep snakes better than anybody else, because I make mistakes all the time. I'm just telling you what works for me. I've had reptiles for quite a long time, and I'm just going to tell you, I love my snakes. I enjoy them, and that's what I want to see you do, because people get these snakes and they put them in a drawer or a rack or whatever, never get them out, and they're never socialized, and they're just not outgoing. My snakes are outgoing. They want to come out. I'm surprised none of them ain't, which we fed day before yesterday, so they probably won't come out, but they're usually out basking, cryptic basking, and they're ready to come out. I mean, Mercedes come out, I think she come out around 2 o'clock, and she stayed out and free roamed my room is set up to be able to free roam my snakes, and we do a lot of that. But what I'm wanting to do is just try to help people, because, man, I can understand how it can be frustrating if your snake's not eating, or you don't know how to set up your enclosure, because I'll just tell you, there's a lot of assholes out there that will kind of be mean to you if you ask questions. Well, there's nothing wrong with asking questions. That's how we learn. And I'd be happy to help anybody that has a question. If I don't know it, I'll find the answer for you. But like I said, I've been keeping for a while, and I've had pretty good luck, and knock on wood. I want to see other people have fun with their pet snakes, because I enjoy mine so much. I get them out nighttime enrichment with my night vision goggles. I get them out in the daytime. Man, I just love it. And my neighbors, and I got friends that come over, just all the time, just to come and pet and hold my snakes. And, so I just want to make it enjoyable for you, where you ain't out here just guessing or anything. But if you got questions, don't hesitate to comment. If you would, like and share my content if you like it. Like I said, I'm no great speaker or anything like that. But I'd like to also mention there's some great content creators out there and some great people. The Pod Pro, that's where I get a lot of my bioactive stuff for my lizards and stuff. I can't thank Becca and Adam enough. They're awesome. If you get a chance, check them out. Little Ball Peeps, that's where I got all my ball pythons and my stepsons. She's awesome, great breeder. Check her out. Like I said, it's awesome. Now, it's the great content creators, Shara from Snake Therapy. Love her content. Get in and check her out. She's, she talks about many different things and shows you how to make stuff. Lori Torini, awesome. She gets in there and teaches you how behavior and target training, which is awesome and fun. You need to learn it. Bob Bledsoe, great content, man. He makes you laugh. I just enjoy watching his content, and he's very knowledgeable. Gary Hartle from Reach Out Reptile, great to watch. Kevin from Nerd. I can't hardly say his last name, Mahardle, I think. Forgive me if I said it wrong, but I love him. I watch him every day. Clint, Reptiles is fun, Snake Discovery. There's so many great content creators out there. Watch out for the ones that use, clickbait and stuff that try to draw you in that way. That's not a good, that puts our animals in negative light. That's what I always do anyway. Be ethical. I try to be ethical. Of course, we're going to talk about some snake bites later on about my blood pythons, but it ain't going to be no clickbait. But anyway, I just wanted to get out there. If you got any questions, like I said, don't hesitate to ask me. Like I said, I'm not perfect by any means. I'll get out my next video. I'm going to start getting out my snakes and letting you see my snakes and see how healthy they are and the colors, man. It's the UVB, man, helps with their colors, I believe. There's just so many things that UVB does that we don't realize. And we'll get, like I said, I'm going to get into the lighting a lot better with the breakers we use and the surge protectors and all that. But I got to get my son in here to kind of help me with that and stuff like that. But I think that pretty much covers just the basic setup. I can't think of really nothing offhand, but you want 2 hides in here. It's good to have 3. You can put another extra hide in the center if you have the room. My snakes are too big for it. That'll kind of help you, give you the temperatures. Like I say, I stay between 88 to 90 degrees for ball pythons, and you just got to watch them, man. Watch what they're doing. Are they going from staying in the hot and not going in the cool side, or that will answer your questions, is paying attention to your snake. If you've seen it staying in the cold hide and never going into the hot hide, even after you feed it, more likely your hot hide's probably too hot. Just like I said, watch them, because they should be moving about and regulating their temperatures. And like I said, I hope you have a blessed day. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about snakes and anything reptile related. If you get a chance, look me up. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Wes Collins on Facebook, and I'm on TikTok. And I do a lot of little shorts because I don't, I'm fixing to be a retired firefighter. And I kind of retired now, really. But January is my official last day. And so I'm going to start doing a lot more of this. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not a great speaker, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I admit my mistakes, and because that's how we learn. And being part native, I'm close to nature, and nature's not perfect, and that's what's so great. We need to start looking at nature more often. But anyway, you have a blessed day. Peace and love. And I hope to see you again. If you would, share, like, leave a comment, good or bad. Like I said, I'm not perfect. But check out Dubia Roach Enclosures, man. I really love them guys. I just bought 2 more. And I hope you check them out. And then, man, they're good closures for budget friendly. Anyway, let's have a blessed day.